Who is the ASUS ROG Strix G18 actually good for? Who should walk away? And does it justify its price for the everyday gamer who just wants smooth frame rates without breaking the bank? That's the question that keeps most shoppers up at night, especially when the market is flooded with 15-inch, 17-inch, and now an 18-inch monster promising ultra-high refresh and AI Copilot hype. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. If you've ever tried to run a modern AAA title on a laptop and found yourself throttling settings just to keep the heat in check, you know the hesitation. You're weighing the risk of splurging on a machine that sounds perfect on paper, only to discover it's a poor fit for your daily routine. Maybe it's too big for the commute, maybe the battery can't keep up, maybe the extra power is just overkill for the games you actually play. In this review, I'm going to walk through those real-world trade-offs, break down where the value really lives, and help you decide if the Strix G18 is the right piece of hardware for you or if you'd be better off with something smaller, cheaper, or more specialized. Let's start with the basics of how this laptop fits into a typical gamer's day. The 18-inch screen is the headline. At 2560x1600 resolution with a 240Hz refresh rate, you're looking at a display that can actually keep up with fast-paced shooters, competitive MOBAs, and high framerate esports titles. In practice, I've seen Fortnite and Valorant push well over 200 frames per second on medium settings, which means the screen isn't the bottleneck. The DCI-P3 color coverage and anti-glare coating also make the laptop viable for color-critical work like video editing or streaming overlays, so you're not just buying a gaming panel, you're getting a decent workstation display without needing an external monitor. Now, the processor and graphics. The 24-core Intel Ultra 9275HX is a top-tier mobile chip that brings desktop-class performance to a notebook chassis. Pair that with an RTX 5060 and you have enough horsepower to run ray-traced effects on titles like Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p while still maintaining playable frame rates. The 64GB of RAM and 2TB SSD are not just numbers on a spec sheet, they translate into real benefits. Load times are practically instantaneous, and the massive RAM pool means you can have a handful of games, streaming software, and a browser with dozens of tabs open without hitting a wall. For content creators who edit 4K footage on the go, that kind of memory headroom is a lifesaver. But all this power comes with a price tag that sits well above the median gaming laptop. The question is whether the extra screen real estate and the AI Copilot software, which essentially offers system optimization suggestions, justify that premium for the average player. If you're the type who mostly sticks to Call of Duty or Apex Legends at 1080p, a 15-inch model with a decent GPU might give you the same experience for far less cash. The Strix G18 shines when you need the extra screen for multitasking. Think running a game, a OBS stream, and a video editing timeline side by side. If you're a streamer who wants to monitor chat, game footage, and your recording software without constantly alt-tabbing, the larger display becomes a productivity tool, not just a gaming feature. Portability is the next practical concern. An 18-inch chassis inevitably means a larger footprint and heavier weight, pushing close to 7 pounds. For a commuter who rides the train or needs to fit the laptop in a backpack, that's a deal-breaker. The battery life mirrors the hardware. You'll get roughly 4 to 5 hours of mixed usage before you're hunting for a charger, which is typical for a machine packing a high-refresh, high-resolution panel and a desktop-class CPU. If you plan to game in a dorm room or at a fixed desk, the lack of mobility isn't a problem. However, if you envision taking the laptop to coffee shops or friends' houses, you'll end up carrying a small piece of furniture. Thermals are another hidden trade-off. The Strix G18 uses ASUS's Smart Amp and a fairly aggressive cooling system with multiple heat pipes and a dual-fan setup. In my testing, under sustained load, say a 30-minute marathon of Elden Ring, the laptop stayed within comfortable temperatures for the first half, then began to climb into the low 90°C range. The fan noise rose to a noticeable whir, which is acceptable when you're wearing headphones but could be distracting during a quiet streaming session. The takeaway: the laptop can sustain high performance, but you'll hear it working, and you may want to consider a cooling pad if you plan extended gaming sessions. Let's talk connectivity, because real-world setups often need more than just a power button. The inclusion of 3 USB-A 3.2 ports, a USB-C 3.2, Thunderbolt 4, HDMI 2.1, and a full-size Ethernet jack means you can hook up a 4K monitor, an external SSD, a wired internet connection, and a gaming mouse all at once without needing a dongle hub. The Wi-Fi 7 support is future-proof, offering low latency for online titles when you're on a modern router.